Sir, was I audible?
It was cut in between. Shall I start? Is it fine? Shall we start?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so good morning to all. I will be sharing my screen. I have not made slides, so I'll share my screen and I'll write on the screen so that you guys can get it. Okay. Is the screen visible to everybody? Is my
Yes,
screen visible?
yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, okay, fine. So, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, so let's
Visible,
start.
yeah.
Fine, sir. So let's go ahead. So we start with this. Basically, I'm quite sure morning Professor Ashok Rao would have told that the idea of machine learning involves three basic entities of mathematics, namely your linear algebra, probability, statistics, and optimization. So what we'll do is we will start off with linear algebra fundamentals. So the agenda is basically we start with what we already know, in the sense that we start with system of equations. What is it to solve a system of equations? What is actually happening geometrically when you try to solve a system of equations? And then we will move on to what is known as our vector spaces and stuff. Then the idea is to go through vector subspaces. Then we'll go do linear transformations. And then we'll go ahead with eigenvalues, eigenvectors, follow it up with singular value decomposition. And then I'll do a little bit of probability. That we start with probability. What is the idea behind this probability? Why are those notions of probability measured and all those things? There, a little bit of that. And then we'll start with random variables. We'll focus a bit on Bayesian. And then what we do is we take up a little bit of statistics, then go ahead with covariance matrix, and then look at PCA for that. So whole agenda for the next few sessions of mine would be this. So now what we'll do is we'll look at linear algebra fundamentals. Okay. So what we're going to do is, in the first thing, we all know that the idea of matrix, we've always used the idea of matrix in context of solving systems of equations. So what we do is we'll try to take the same example. We try to solve systems of equation. So basically we look at idea of matrix in solving system of equations. Systems of equations. So what we do is, in this case, let's take a simple system of equations. With, let's take example. We say that 2x1 plus x2 is 3. And x1 plus 2x2 is 3. And we say, like, solve the system of equations. So what do we mean by solving the system of equations? I request the participants to kindly be interactive and probably unmute and then respond to the questions. Otherwise, it will become like a monologue. And there will be nothing that will be a takeaway for any of us. Okay. So I request people to unmute and give me the answers. Let us make it interactive so that we learn together. So the question is, solve the system of equations. So what do we mean by this? Is there someone who can tell me that?
Finding the values of x1 and x2.
Okay, finding the values of x1 and x2. So find x1 and x2. Now, what does this system basically tell us? I mean, finding the, I mean, why did this equation, set of equations even come? And what is it to say find the value of x1 and x2? See, since we call that as a system of equation, which means it must have some meaning. We typically would have seen in our school algebra stuff where we say that, look, there are 2 apples and 1 orange which cost 3 rupees, and then 1 apple and 2 oranges which cost 3 rupees. Therefore, find the unit cost of apple and orange. Yeah, that's basically the system that you're trying to look at. Now in this case, can someone tell me what will be the value of x1 and x2?
1, 1.
So x1 is equal to x2 is equal to 1. Yeah, is the solution. Do we have any other solution to this?
11:32.
Are there any other solutions to this?
No, it has unique solution.
Exactly. So you have unique solutions. No, so that's the first takeaway that we have. We have unique solution. to the given system. Right? Now, what do we mean by unique solution in this case? What is it to say unique solution?
That means the two lines are actually having one intersecting point only. Other
Can we
than that,
have,
they're not intersecting.
Fine. Can we have lines to intersect at 2 points?
No. If they are coinciding each other, then we
Uh-huh.
can say that we will be having. Otherwise, we can't say.
So
It's not
typically
possible.
it's not possible. So these are basically two straight lines. If you take, these are two straight lines. And we found that these two straight lines intersect. So the point of intersection is basically the solution to the system of equation, right? The point of intersection is solution to the system of equations. Now, suppose I give you this. Let's take example 2. You say that solve 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, 4x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 6. Now, what do we mean by solve? What is to say solving the system of equations in this case?
Infinitely many solutions.
Why would there be infinitely many solutions? So somebody
Because
says, look,
one line is
infinite.
dependent upon another line.
What do we mean by saying one line is dependent upon the other line? Lines cannot
Both-
depend on each other, right?
Yes, the vector. Sorry to say.
Where is the vector? We have not even come to the notion of vector.
Both lines are overlapping.
Exactly. Both lines
Coinciding.
overlap. Exactly. These are overlapping lines. So if they overlap, what did we say? Actually, when we said that the two lines have a unique solution, it means the solution that you see lies on both the line. Is that right? Suppose I take this as L1, line L1, and I take this as line L2. Now, when I say solving a system of equation, it is to find the point which is there on both L1 and L2. Now, if I were to look at this as, say, L3 and L4, lines L3 and L4, now what is happening? Every point on L3 is also there on L4. Is that right? So let's write that. Every point on L3, every point on L3 lies on L4, and therefore there are infinitely many solutions. Right? Now the question is, when we have, see, suppose we go to a mobile phone shop, you have a lot of varieties of mobile phone, right? You have amazing varieties of mobile phones, smartphones, which starts with, let's say, $5,000 to, let's say, kidney selling mobile phones, which are like Apple iPhones, which are there, where you have to spend, sell your kidneys, your friend's kidneys, everything. That means we have across the price value, we have many options. Now, what is it to say again? If I have many options, can I buy all the fellows? Can I buy all the mobile phones?
No.
Can we buy all the mobile phones? I want to get to one mobile phone, but can I do it?
Yeah. So
We can't do. It's impossible to buy everything. Therefore, when I say that there are infinitely many solutions, I really don't want to look at all of them, because everybody is like equally good as the other. But I have to look for what is called as an optimal solution. We will see what is that. I cannot look with, it's not optimal solution as such. I cannot have the problem of infinity is like, what is it that I will choose? So in this case, what I do, I look for what is called as a representative solution. So especially something like our country, where we have everybody who is above the age of 18, our potential prime ministerial candidate, what do? Does everybody go and sit in parliament saying, look, I'm the prime minister? We don't. What we do, we choose. We choose one among ourselves and then send them to Parliament saying, look, you are the Prime Minister. That's it. So when I have infinitely many options, I have to choose a representative. Now, let's look at the third case. Example 3. Suppose I say solve 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 4. This is, let's call this as L5 and let's call this as L6. Okay. Now what do we do?
No solution.
Why is there no solution?
Both lines are parallel. Is not intersect.
Exactly. So professor says no solution because lines are parallel. Right? Because lines are parallel. No, but the question says solve. But the system says, look, you cannot solve. What do we do with this?
Consistent.
Huh? What do we do? See, this is the problem that we face now. Many a times, this is also a real life problem in the sense we always have certain problems for which there cannot be any solution. You cannot solve the solution. You cannot solve the problem at all. What do we do? See, corruption is a major issue. We say that, look, you cannot solve the issue of corruption because anywhere you go, people ask for money. So what is it that we try to do? Right? So what do we do in that case? Lines are parallel. There can be no intersection at all. There is no point of intersection. The lines do not intersect. So what do we do? See, as professors, you would have also done this. Many times you would have given an assignment or a test or an exam to your students saying, look, answer all these questions. But if I'm submitting an assignment, I will give you at 4 o'clock, you must submit all the assignment at 5 o'clock. Or I will give you a test where in which you cannot answer any question because you have all behaved badly in my class. Therefore, I want to give a very bad, tough question so that none of you pass. But then what do the students do? We have done many times. When we write an exam, if we do not know the answer for the question, what do we do? Do we leave it like that? Especially in, say, affiliated, university affiliated exams, like VTU exams. Suppose you have a 20-mark question for which we have absolutely no clue of what the answer is. What do we do? Do we leave the 20 marks directly and then come on? Can someone tell me? What do we do with that? Hello, somebody has to answer.
We try to attempt whatever we know.
You don't write the exact answer. What do you write? You write approximate answer.
Yeah, approximately close answer.
That is what even your students do know. When they don't know the answer, what they will write? All the questions they will write neatly, but for a question for which they do not know the answer, what will they do? They'll write it very fast in an illegible manner. So what do? We'll say, okay, fine, this fellow has written, let us give him some marks. Anyway, he has written, but we don't care whether he has written correct answer or not. So what we do is we just give off the marks for them, right? So the same thing happens here. Okay, the same thing happens here. What does happen and what's happening here? If there is no solution, then what we do? We look for something close to a solution. Something close. to the solution. That means something which approximates the solution. Something that approximates. Right? Approximates the solution. Now, if there is approximation, then it's going to be giving us some error. Is that right? So that means, what are we going to say? Because of approximation, we will have error. We'll have error. Now, should the error be large or should the error be small? How should the error be?
Small.
Error has to be as small as possible. So let's look at this. So error has to be minimal. In what sense? Error has to be minimal. So in this case, what we do is we measure what is called as we actually quantify this error, or whatever that we're trying to do is we are trying to minimize the squared error. There is some reason for this. Minimize the squared error. And that is exactly why we call the solutions to such problems where you don't have actual solutions to exist, we call them as least square solutions. Is this clear? So whenever we have a system for which there is no solution possible, we need to work out something such that whatever we give as a solution takes us as close as possible to this right side 3, 4. That destination, it takes us as close as possible to that particular destination, provided that the difference between this 3, 4 and the value that you get with x1 and x2, and you substitute in this, whatever that you get, the squared error, the difference between the two, squared difference should be minimum, as small as possible. I mean, the squared error has various connotations in different things. For example, if you look at statistics, it basically minimizes your variance. Square term is basically your variance. If you look at electrical engineering, the square term is typically power, so you try to minimize power. So you have a lot of stuff that way. Okay, that's why we look for least square solution. So typically, when you try to solve a system of equation, there can only be these things. Linear equations especially, there can be only these things. Either you have a unique solution, or you have infinitely many solutions, in which case you choose a representative, or you have no solutions, therefore you look at what is called as an approximate solution or least square solution. Is that clear? Now the question is, typically when we try to do this solving system of equations, we approach this using matrix approximation, solving system of equations. We approach this entire concept using matrices. Say, for example, the given equation, say 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, and x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 3. We capture this entire thing in terms of matrices. We say 2, 1, 1, 2 into, let us say, x1, x2 is equal to 3, 3. This is what we tell. Okay, so I call this as the system matrix X. This is the input to the system, and this is basically the output from the system. So what we see is we have something like this A. I give input X, and I get an output B. Right? Now, what is it to say solving the system of equations? I know what the system is. I know what the system output is. I want to find out what is the input that I have to give so that I get this output. Is that clear? This is equivalent to saying, look, instead of doing this business, now what you do is you look at A inverse, you give B as input to A inverse, and you get X as the output. So solving a system of equation essentially means, solving a system of equation AX equal to B essentially means solving the other form of this, which is nothing but X is equal to A inverse B. Is this clear? AX equal to B is the same as saying A inverse B equal to X. In the sense, if you want to solve AX equal to B, implies you solve A inverse B equal to X, provided A inverse exists. Now I have a question. See, when we try to solve a system of equations in this way, we basically follow elementary row operations, right? We have done all these things. You remember these elementary row operations? Does anyone remember this?
Scalar operations. Scalar.
Scalar operations. What do we mean by scalar operations? We have not even looked at what is a vector, so first we must know what it is, right?
We interchange rows.
Okay, so let us write that in the first place. So what we do, the first elementary row operation that we're going to do is, let us take any ith rows of a matrix and swap it with jth row,
Jth row.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or you can even
Then,
multiply any, then perform a subtraction operation to get a diagonal matrix in a form.
We will see why we do that. We will come to that. Okay. Second one is we replace any row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an old row multiplied by scalar.
Yeah,
Old
exactly.
row.
So, yeah. So we'll take it as array. Is this fine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now,
So-
what is the third one?
New row, new Ri equals, new Ri implies implies old Ri addition or subtraction for the another row.
Okay.
Rj.
So we'll take it as Ri plus some alpha times Rj. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll take alpha to be some scalar.
Yes.
We'll take a real scalar. Okay. Now, I want to do what is this actually doing? I mean, geometry, I need to understand, because most of the times, if we try to approach it geometrically, then I will be able to understand things better, right? Because algebraic equations, when we keep writing, all we know is like we are trying to put some variables there and then try to meddle around with the equations and then get the values. But then, that means now what I want to do, I want to look at geometrically what this means. Oh, can you please mute yourself? There's some background noise that I'm hearing, a lot of background noise. Whoever is unmuted, could you please? Yeah. So what all these things do? Let us look at this from our example that we took. So first example that we took was example 1. We had this 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. And x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 3. Now, when I put this in matrix form, I get this 2, 1, 1, 2 into x1, x2 gives me 3, 3. Now, how many rows are there? We say that this is row R1, this is row R2. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is Ri swapping with Rj. That means now I'm going to swap R1 and R2. So what would it become? This simply means I have to swap my B also, okay, accordingly. But here it doesn't make sense because I am using the same, the two components of the B to be the same, 3, 3, so it doesn't make any difference. So what is this going to be? This is 1, 2, 2, 1 into x1, x2 is equal to 3, 3. Now, what will the system of equations here now be? It will be x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 3. And 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. Now, is there any change in the solutions in this case? Are there any changes in the solution? So what is the solution to the system? Can someone tell me this?
No change.
There is no change at all. So the solution to the system is 1, 1. Yeah? Now,
Yeah, same. Yeah.
okay. Now let us look at the second case. So this means row swapping has not changed the solution. But what has happened to the two lines? Has not changed, or row swapping does not change the solution. Now, can you draw these two lines and then check? See, in the first case, when I took x1, 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, and x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, I had something like this. Let's say this is x1 axis. This is, let's say, x2 axis. Initially, I had 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. And then x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 3. Now, how are the lines basically? If I put x1 is equal to 0, x3 is x2 equal to 3. So let me take this as 3. Then if I put x2 is equal to 3, then x1 is equal to, let's say, 1.5. So this is the first line. This is line L1. Now, x1, if I put x2 is equal to 0, x1 gets the value 3. So which means, let us say that this line is basically here, 1.5. Double time is going to be, say, somewhere here. Let's call this as 3. Let's assume that this is 1, this is 2, and that is 3. And then if I put x1 is equal to 0, x2 is equal to 1.5. So this is 1, so 1.5 is somewhere. So the line is going to be this way. This is line L2. And where did they meet? They basically met at 1, 1. Right? Now, if I change this, if I do row swapping, can you please draw the line and then see how it is going to be?
So only change L1 and L2. Names are changes.
Only changes L1 and L2. The names are changed. No, but then
Instead of L1 is L2, instead of L2 is L1. That's a
exactly. But then what? Exactly. So what has happened to the lines? The L1
Interchanged.
line was basically
lines are
exactly, the
interchange.
L1 line.
Lines are interchange.
There is a better way of telling. This line was here. This line is here. Now what has happened to this line? It has got rotated to this. Okay. It has got rotated by this much. That's why it has come to this. Do you see that? My new L3 is basically this line. This is L3. This is after row swap. I have come to this. What was here? This was the original L1. Let us say this was the original L1. Where did it go now? It has got rotated to this. Similarly, what has happened to L2? L2, which was this one, it has got rotated to this. Is that right? We have to look at it in terms of rotation, that's all. And what has happened? Both the lines are pinned at this point, and then you try to rotate. Are you getting this? It's like you take two thin sticks, agarbatti sticks or whatever. You try to pin that at a particular position, and then you try to rotate both the lines. It holds at the solution, but then the lines get rotated. That's exactly what you see here. Is this clear? So this simply means the lines, if you swap two rows, the lines have got rotated by some amount. Is this clear? Now let us look at the next one. Let us see if we make sense out of the next operation. What is the second operation? We said Ri, replace it with alpha times Ri. That means I had this, what is that? Let's look at the system of equation again. We had 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. x1 plus 2x2 is equal to 3. Now I write the matrix A, which is 2, 1, 1, 2 into x1, x2, which is equal to 3, 3. Now what is happening to this? What has happened to this? I'm going to replace, let's say, R2 with 2 times R2. How is the thing? How are the things going to change? I'm going to have 2, 1, 2, 4, x1, x2. Now that changes to 3, 6. Now can you please draw these two lines and then check? Can you draw this line and can you draw this line and then check and tell me quickly? Somebody has to do it very quickly and then tell. Because I want to look at more concepts. Can you please draw and tell? Is everybody able to understand what I'm trying to tell you? Is everybody getting this? I'll show you a lot of visualizations like probably in tomorrow's class. But right now we'll just look at all these things.
No difference in the line actually. The slope
Huh?
remains same.
What remains the same?
Slope remains same. So no difference in the line actually.
Exactly. There is no difference in this line, which means the solution also remains the same. So geometrically, we see the solution remains the same. The solution remains same because the second line is the same as the previous line that we already had. It's only a multiple, therefore the slope remains the same. Therefore, there is no change in solutions. Is that right? No change in solution. Now, I'm going to look at the third one. What is the third case that I'm going to look at? What is the third case? Third case, we said replace any Ri with Ri plus say some alpha times Rj, where alpha is scalar. Yeah? So what am I going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to have 2, 1, 1, 2 into x1, x2. This is equal to 3, 3. So let me say that I'm going to replace R2 with R2 plus alpha times R1. Let us see what is happening to that. So the first equation will remain as 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. The second equation is what? It is 1 plus alpha times x1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 alpha times x1, 2 plus alpha times x2 is equal to 3 plus 3 alpha. Is this right? Is this correct? Hello?
Right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a task. What is the task? You draw these two lines. Okay, keep this line fixed L1. Please draw this line. In the same graph, what you do is you now do L2, where L2 is going to be different set of lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at L2. I'll put it as 0, whereas the 0, basically I'll take it as L2 alpha, where alpha is equal to, I'm going to put some different values of alpha. So what are the different, so it is L2 alpha. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to replace alpha is equal to 0. I'm going to replace alpha is equal to -1. I'm going to do alpha is equal to +1. Can you please draw for all these things? Can you please draw the line on the same graph and see what is happening? See, this is not quite obvious as to why the solution should remain the same, because you are adding some scalar times another row. Why should it be the same? See, in the previous case, I just swapped the two lines. The solution has to be the same because it is the orientation of line which has changed. In the second case, basically the two lines were the same, except that I have multiplied by a scalar, which simply means that the slope remains the same. But in this case, I see that I'm adding to a particular row, I am adding another multiple of another row. Now, how do we expect the line to change? Can you please check what is happening? Are you getting it? No? Hello? I'm not getting any answer from any of you. Can you please draw these lines and then check what is happening? Hello? Am I there in the meeting?
Trying, sir.
Yeah. Could you please tell?
L2 shifted to another one point, but there is no difference in the solution, right?
Why is it that happening? How does that happen? Why is it happening? You see that one of the lines is this. The other line was what? Initially, when you put alpha is equal to 0, I would get the same as the first line. Assume that the second line is this. This means these two have already met here, and there is like you put a nail there, and you have pinned that these two fellows. Then what happens for different values of alpha? You are going to basically rotate this line. One of these lines, this is fixed. This is fixed, and let's say this line varies. Basically because of that alpha that you give. So what you have? You simply have something like this, which gets fixed here. You might have something like this, which gets fixed here. Therefore, what you see, the second line basically gets rotated. But where is about what point the rotation happens? The rotation happens about the solution point. And therefore, the solution remains the same even in this case. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically,
Yes, sir.
your elementary row operations that you do, elementary row operations, that's why we always say, okay, these are all equivalent systems. Now, finally, what is it that we get when you keep rotating this way? Let us look at this. See, initially, when we took the two equations, this was the solution, right? This was the set of equations. This was L1 and this is L2. This is what we had. Now, when I say solution, how is the solution looking like? What is the solution to this? The solution is?
Single point.
The solution is single
One
point.
point. Single point.
It is 1, 1. Yeah. Is that a single point? Or can we look at it geometrically and give a different meaning? If I say x1 is equal to 1, x2 is equal to 1, what does that mean? The solution is basically along this line, x1 plus 0, x2 is equal to 1. And 0, x1 plus x2 is equal to 1. Is that right? Therefore, what is the solution now? The solution is pretty interesting. It is interesting in the sense, I have one line which is parallel to the y-axis. I have another line which is parallel to the x-axis, which is x. This is y is equal to 1, and this is x is equal to 1. Yeah? Is that clear? See, your elementary row operations, when you try to do, you are ensuring that instead of these two skewed lines, whatever you do, you are trying to get lines which are parallel to the axis. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So basically, that's what you do in your this one, no? Gauss elimination method. One more step you go, you try to get an inverse matrix. Is that right? Basically, you take the matrix A and then you take the identity matrix. Whatever elementary row operation that you do on the matrix A, you try to do that on the identity matrix also. Therefore, when you keep doing, what is it that you'll see? This matrix A will become identity matrix, and that matrix, identity matrix, will actually become your A inverse. You have actually seen that it becomes something like that. You end up getting 1, 0, 0, 1. So this is precisely what you get. So what we do is, instead of these oblique lines, now it is easy for me. You see, my system of equation originally should have been this: x1 equals 1, x2 is equal to 1. There's nothing that you need to solve here because the values are all given. But what was the problem? I ended up having a system which was complicated, wherein which every equation involved all the variables. I don't want that. If I get like this, it simply means every equation has only one variable, which means we call this as decoupled equations. Whereas these are coupled equations. You will see that when you go to the idea of random variables and stuff, when you look at the covariance matrix, this is exactly what you would want. You would want the covariance matrix to have all the off-diagonal entries to be 0, which means your variables are all, random variables are all uncorrelated. Okay. Essentially, you are looking at something like this. We will see that in detail. Okay. Is that okay? Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, okay. Now the question is this. See, we started off saying solve Ax equal to B implies doing A inverse B is equal to X, or X is equal to A inverse B. And we said that A inverse must exist. Now, how do we define A inverse? Mathematically, how did we define A inverse?
Determinant not equal to 0.
Now I really exactly
A is non-singular. A is non-singular.
exactly that is the point that I wanted to come.
Yeah.
Now somebody said determinant is not equal to 0, which implies A is non-singular.
This is the necessary condition for existence of A inverse. Then only we can follow the
Yeah,
steps.
Exactly. So this simply means this is the necessary condition for A inverse to exist. Right? Now I have a question. What does this determinant actually mean? See, everybody says determinant must not be equal to 0 for A inverse to exist. But what is the determinant? How do we define determinant?
Actually, area. Area of.
Area of what?
Diagonals are non-zero.
Diagonals are non-zero. Is that what you mean by determinant? No. You take this, no? 0, 0, 1, 1. Diagonals are 0, but the determinant is -1. Right?
Area of two basic vectors.
Area of two basic vectors. How can we define area for vectors? See, slowly we are building concepts, but then we are not able to put that properly, right? So what is area? Where did this area even come from? We were only talking about line.
Is it the angle between the two lines given by determinant rows?
Angle between the two lines, if it is given by the determinant, then it wouldn't qualify to be area, right?
Yes.
Because it is just an angle. So how
And when the angle is 0, it is parallel. So that is how I understood it.
Two rows or column has the same values. Like we are going for the parallel line. In that
exactly.
case,
Exactly. So if we want to understand the correct meaning of determinant, can you tell me how is A inverse defined? We will see that first of all. First of all, how is A inverse defined? A inverse is 1 by
Adjoint A
determinant
divided by
of
determinant A.
Is this right?
Adjoint of A.
1 by adjoint of A. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that means this determinant of A is some kind of a scaling factor that we have, because determinant is just a number. It is some kind of scaling factor. Is that right? Therefore, first of all, if we look at determinant this matrix way, we must understand that it is a scaling factor. Is that okay? Now, the second thing is, somebody said, look, I have to look at area. Therefore, if I want to understand this determinant better, then what I do is I start look at what is called, what Gilbert-Strang calls as column picture of your matrix. Look at column picture of A. What do we mean by column picture of A? What do we mean by column picture of A? Suppose I have 2, 1, 1, 2. If I read it row wise, I'm basically going to look at a system of equations. Suppose I x1, x2 is equal to say some b1, b2. Now, what does this tell me? This tells me 2x1 plus x2 is equal to b1, x1 plus 2x2 is equal to b2. Now, if I write that way, I see something interesting happening. What is that? 2x1 plus x2 is equal to b1, x1 plus 2x2 is equal to b2. Is there something interesting that we see here?
B1 and B2 not equal.
B1, B2 can be equal. 3, 3 we saw there, no? First example that we took was B1 equal to B2, right? So what do we do? Is there something interesting that we observe here? You see, whatever you try to do, the first column gets multiplied only by x1. The second column gets multiplied only by x2, which means I can write this as x1 into 2, 1 plus x2 into 1, 2 and say this is equal to b1,
B1,
b2. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. Yeah. So what we see here, we see that the first column gets multiplied with x1 and the second column always multiplies, gets multiplied with x2, and then the resultant is another column which is b1, b2. Now, therefore, what I say is, I say that 2, 1 is a 2-component vector, 1, 2 is a 2-component vector, and b1, b2 is another 2-component vector. Is this clear? So now if I try to draw this, how does this look like with respect to origin? If I take this, let us say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. My 2, 1 vector is going to look like this. My 2, 1 vector is basically this one. 2, 1 is basically this vector. And 1, 2 vector, how is it going to be? 1, 2 is basically here. Is this fine? This is the vector 2, 1, and this is the vector 1, 2. Is this correct?
Yes.
And now you see these two subtends an angle theta. Is that right? Now what I do is I see the resultant of these two vectors. Resultant of these two vectors is 3, 3. So how is it going to look like? I'm going to do this. I'm going to basically do this business, draw this parallelly, and then draw this guy. So what have I done basically? I have completed a parallelogram. Is that clear? Now the area of this parallelogram is what is your determinant. This parallelogram is the determinant. Is this clear? When will this determinant be 0? Can you tell me? When can the determinant be 0?
When both the vectors are equal.
Both the vectors are equal. What do you mean by that?
Both
Like
vectors
when
are
the
independent.
area is 0.
Huh.
When both the vectors are overlapping.
Both, there is a, if the moment I say vector, I always associate a vector with something. What is that?
Direction.
Exactly. Now if I say for the determinant to be 0, what should be the nature of the vectors?
Perpendicular.
Oh, that's wrong. Can you please think?
Both would have same direction.
Means their direction is
Exactly. That is brilliant. That's brilliant. So what does it say? For the determinant, if the determinant is 0, what information does that give? If determinant of A is 0, if determinant is equal to 0, I'm just looking at 2 dimension. Please have that in mind. I'm just looking at XY plane. X1, X2. I'm not looking at the third direction, that is the 3-dimensional space or n-dimensional space. I'm just looking at 2-dimensional space where if the determinant is 0, this simply implies the two columns, the two column vectors I'll put, the two column vectors are in the same direction. Is that clear?
Sir, it means unbounded area.
Which one?
It means the area between the vectors is unbounded, is it? Can we say?
There cannot be area between vectors. It is area enclosed by this parallelogram. Area enclosed with
Yes.
that parallelogram, that is 0. That's all. That will happen. Suppose if this were 2, 1, and I give another vector which is say 4, 2. 4, 2 is going to be somewhere here, so it goes along this line. First line is 2, 1, and the second vector is 4, 2. Now you don't make a parallelogram out of this at all, right? You cannot make.
Yes, sir.
You cannot make, in which case the area of the parallelogram is 0. Is this clear? Is everybody clear with this? Is there any question in this? Are there any questions?
No, sir.
Shall we go ahead? Okay, so let's go ahead now. So in 2D, we see that if your determinant is 0, it means first thing that we have said is the determinant is 0, A inverse does not exist. Right? Inverse of A does not exist. Is that what that's what we told, right? Which means simply means we cannot solve a system of equation. We cannot solve the system of equations. Is this correct to say that we cannot solve the system of equations? So the question is this a correct statement? Can someone tell me?
Actually, there is no system of equations.
What do you mean by no system of equations? Oh, let's look at this.
No different equations in graph.
Oh, that's what. Let us look at this. So I have 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. 4x1 plus x2, 2x2 is equal to 6. Is this a system of equations in the first place?
Yes,
What
sir.
is the determinant? What is the determinant of this matrix? What is determinant of A in this case?
0.
Assume that
0. 0.
determinant of A is 0.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
sir.
the question is, can we solve this system of equation? Can you get values? The question is, can we get values?
Yes, sir.
No. No.
Yes.
Solution.
It is infinite loop. No.
Yes.
For x1,
It is a
x2,
parallel.
such that this let us see if we get it or not. That is why. Okay, so I'll take 2 into 1.5 plus 0. I get 3. 4 into 1.5 plus 2 into 0. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody finding it? Is this correct? That means what is the solution to this system of equations? Suppose I tell you 2 into 0 plus 3 is equal to 3.
Many solutions.
And 4 into someone who said it cannot get a solution at all. 4 into 0 plus 2 into 3 is 6. Which means 1.5 comma 0 is a solution. 0 comma 3 is a solution. Ooh, there seems to be something interesting happening here. Let's put x1 is equal to 1, x2 is equal to 1. 2 into 1 plus 1 is 3. 4 into 1 plus 2 into 1 is equal to 6. 1 is also a solution. We just made a statement. We cannot solve a system of equation because determinant of 0 A inverse does not exist. What is happening here? There seems to be something wrong. What is happening?
System has infinite number of solutions.
System has infinite number of solutions. After that, can we go beyond that? Can somebody tell me what is happening here? Therefore, you are depending, there is something that is happening here. What is it that's happening? So we cannot make a blanket statement here. Determinant of 0, A inverse does not exist. We cannot solve the system of equations. We are in soup
Both
now.
are in the same direction.
Exactly. If you say that in
Both
case
the
of 2
vectors are in
dimension,
the same direction.
if you look at what is happening here, basically 2, 4, let us draw these 3 vectors and see how they are. So let's take this x1, x2 axis. Now first vector is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where is 2, 4? 2, 4 is basically this point. 2, 4, let's take this. So 2, 4 is this. Then where is 1, 2? Oh. Okay, I think I have to draw some of this. Let's draw this. I'll take this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where is 1, 2? 1, 2 is in this direction. Where is 3, 6? Oh, that means 2, 4 has to change now. So 1, 2 is this. 2, 4 is this. It's in the same. Assume that I'm very bad in drawing. So assume that it's all in the same direction. Okay. Please don't. Okay, I'll do it again. Let's take this. This is better. Okay. This is easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So where is 2, 4? 2, 4 is this point. So let's draw that. Where is 1, 2? 1, 2 is this point, which is along this direction. Where is 3, 6? 3, 6 is brilliant. 3, 6 fellow says, look, I'll also follow you. This is 3, 6. This is 1, 2. This is 2, 4. And 3, 6, where is it there? Oh, 3, 6 is along the same direction. So whenever you have the right-hand side vector, which is in the, in the same direction as, when you have a determinant to be 0, when you have the right-hand side vector to be in the same direction as the column vector, then you will definitely have a solution. Is this clear? So we have to make certain statements. Suppose if I had given you, instead of 3, 6, suppose I had given you 2x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, 4x1 plus x2 is equal to 5. In that case, what happens? Where is this vector 3, 5? 3, 5 is basically here. So 3, 5 is basically this vector. So it's 3, 5 in the same direction of.
First one is. Yeah, first one is dependent vectors and second one is independent vectors.
Yeah, I have to come to that notion. When I do vector space, I'll come to that idea. But all that I'm trying to tell you is this 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6, they are all in the same direction. This is exactly what we said when we asked, don't tell it is dependent on the other or one vector is dependent. We said we have to be very specific with respect to direction. We say that they are in the same direction. But 3, 5, if you see, 3, 5 is in a direction which is different from that of 1, 2, and 2, 4. There cannot be any multiple of 1, 2, or 2, 4 which will give me 3, 5. Is that right? So 3, 5 is in a different direction. Therefore, this equation does not have any solution. Therefore, I need to look at least squared solutions. Whereas this equation, if I had 3, 6, then this has infinitely many solutions. Now, I want to come to another notion of this determinant. Sir, till how long is the class? Hello?
So,
Till 1:30.
1.
Okay, fine. So I will finish the idea of system of equations within another half an hour. So that afternoon when we meet, afternoon we are meeting at 3, right? Or 2 o'clock. Hello, sir. I forgot to see the schedule.
3 to 4:30.
3 to 4:30. So we'll have like 2 hours. Okay. So afternoon I'll start with the idea of vector spaces and stuff. Is this okay? Okay. Now, we also have another notion. When the determinant is not equal to 0, we also have another number which we associate with the matrix. What is the other number that we associate with the matrix? One is determinant. There's one more number which we associate with the matrix. What is that? Can you tell me what is that?
Parallelogram.
No, that number.
No.
Have you heard this term called rank?
Yes.
What is rank? How do we define rank?
A number of basic variables.
Rank of a matrix. What do you mean by basic variables? What do we mean by
Number of pivot columns.
Exactly. So let's put that as number of pivot variables. So rank of a matrix is basically number of pivot variables. There is also something else. Pivot variables / columns. There is also another notion of rank, no? What is that? Which is associated with the determinant. Hello.
Row vector or column vectors?
No.
Cofactor.
Can you please unmute yourself? There's somebody who's talking at the background. Because that will get into the recording, it will be a bit bad. Cofactor. No, something more. Suppose I tell you that there is a 3 × 3 matrix for which the rank is 2. What do we mean by that?
We can solve the matrix and reduce to the minimum variable.
Basically, you have 2 pivot variables. That's what it said. But there is also another definition where in which you say that it is the dimension of that matrix, largest square matrix for which the determinant is non-zero. Is that right? Suppose I have a 3 × 3 matrix. Let's take this example. Let's take an example. Suppose I have this matrix 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 1, 0, 0. What is the rank of this matrix?
It is 2.
Rank is 2. How did we say rank is 2? Why is the rank not 3? Rank is not equal to 3. Why?
So
How did we figure that out?
We can solve that. We can solve row 1 and row 2. It is both are parallel line. So we can reduce this.
Yeah,
rows to
basically you.
this number.
dimension is 2. Dimension is 2.
That's exactly.
Dimension number is 2.
That's exactly what I'm asking. Why is the rank not 3? Why is the dimension 2? Why is it so? See, if you take the determinant of this matrix, determinant of A, what is the determinant of A? The determinant of A is 0. Therefore, what I do, I start looking at 2 cross 2 matrices within that, whose determinant is not equal to 0. Is this determinant equal to 0? It is 4 minus 4, determinant is 0. Now you take this. What are these smaller 2 cross 2 matrices called? There is a name for them.
Minor.
Exactly. Now what you do, you take this 2 cross 2 matrix. Now what is the determinant? The determinant is 0. You take this 2 cross 2 matrix. It is 2 into 0 minus 1 into 4, which is not equal to 0. Therefore, what do we say? The dimension of this 2 cross 2 matrix, which is 2 cross 2, which is equal to 2, the rank is 2. Is this clear? So the rank is also basically related to your determinant in some way. Is that okay? Now, I want to get to this notion when I have, see, determinant not equal to 0 implies rank is equal to something. What do we mean? What is the rank? If suppose I have a matrix A, let us take n cross n, whose determinant is not equal to 0. What is the rank of A?
N.
Yeah, this means it is rank n.
Yes.
When you have rank of a n cross n matrix to be equal to n, we call such matrices as full rank matrices. Is this clear? This is fine. We call such matrices as full rank matrices. Is it fine? Let's take this example. 1, 2, 2, 4. What is the rank of this matrix? First of all, what is the determinant of this matrix?
So determinant is 0, rank is 1.
Rank is 1. How did we figure out rank is 1?
Because only one pivot.
There is only one pivot, exactly. So that is equal to, therefore, all these are equivalent terms that you have. We will see this huge set of, clauses or what you get, equivalent statements we will make as far as invertible matrices are concerned. If you have a matrix A n cross n, the matrix A is invertible, is equivalent to saying the determinant of the matrix is non-zero, is equivalent to saying the rank of the matrix is n. I mean, I'm looking at A n cross n square matrix. So we'll say this, A n cross n. If you have this matrix, the following statements are equivalent. What are the first statements? A is invertible. B, determinant of A is non-zero. C, rank of A is n. D, number of pivot variables is n. E, there are no free variables. Etc. We have a lot more, but we will see it later because I want to get to the notion of vector space and then matrix, putting we call them matrices, and then we talk. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But I have something. I made a very clear statement saying A is n cross n. Suppose I have a matrix A n cross m cross n and rank is n. That is, let's take this 1, 2, 3, 1, 0, 0. What is the rank of this matrix? This dimension of this matrix is basically 3 rows and 2 columns. What is the rank of this matrix?
Is 1.
Rank of A is 1. Why? Rank of A is 1, is it? Can we please check?
Just a minute.
Yeah, please check.
So 2, sir. 2.
It is 2.
Sir.
Rank is 2.
2.
Rank is 2 because you will find one pivot in each.
Yeah. Sir,
Column.
yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So
sir.
rank is 2.
Two columns are there, rank is 2.
So the rank is 2. Now, can we say A is invertible in this case? We said somewhere, no? Rank of A is equal to n. Means A is invertible. Can we say A is invertible here? For a rectangular matrices or for a rectangular matrix, inverse is not defined at all. Because determinant is not defined. Therefore, that is exactly why I had used this specific clause. If you have A n cross n square matrix, saying A is invertible is equivalent to that the matrix is non-singular, is equivalent to the rank of A being n, is equivalent to saying I have one pivot every column. Whereas this does not mean it. Is that clear? That was very, very specific. In case of square matrices, these are all equivalent. In case of rectangular matrices, you cannot make a conclusion like this for the simple reason that I cannot define. The determinant of a rectangular matrix is not even defined. Is this clear? Is this fine?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so with now we have fairly what do you call a good idea about some intuitive concepts in as in case of matrices. If there are any questions, I'll take it up now. After I want to start with the notion of vector spaces. So we're going to look at vector spaces. Subspaces and stuff. Okay. I want to do this in the afternoon. We'll look at different kinds of examples of vector spaces, different kinds of subspaces and all those things. And we will have to look at certain other important terms like linearly independent set of vectors, dependent set of vectors. Then how do you construct vector spaces? How do you construct subspaces? What are the basic elements that are required for vector subspace? So we are going to look at bases. We're going to look at dimensions, dimension of the subspaces and vector spaces, etc. So I can take some questions now because I don't want to start now. There will be a gap again. It will be a problem. So if there are any questions, I'm ready to take.
So can you repeat regarding invertible matrix?
It's not the question of not invertible matrices.
Invertible.
See, yeah, what I'm trying to tell here is if you take square matrices, for square matrices, the following are equivalent. The following statements are equivalent. If somebody says A is invertible, it simply means I get all these other information from the simple statement A is invertible. Suppose if I tell you rank of A is n, I get all other information. Fine. These are all the things that I have. These are equivalent. But if you go to a rectangular matrices, set of rectangular matrices where m is not equal to n, in this case, rank of A is n, that means it is a full rank matrix. Right? Similarly, in this case, if you take A rank is 2, the rank is equal to number of columns. Basically, we'll put that. This is equal to number of columns. Now, here also, the rank is equal to number of columns. Right? The rank is equal to number of columns. That means this matrix is also a full rank matrix. But however, determinant, can we define determinant for this matrix?
We need to take a square matrix.
You cannot do this, no?
Yeah, we cannot do it.
Yeah.
We cannot
So
find
what-
a determinant.
Determinant is not even defined. There's no question of finding. It is not defined.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, therefore, we cannot say the determinant is not equal to 0 because it is not defined. Since the determinant, somebody said in the beginning that, look, the essential condition for A inverse to exist is determinant being not equal to 0. Somebody told that, right? Necessary condition, determinant of A not equal to 0 is the necessary condition for A inverse to exist. Now, since I cannot even define, I can't even define determinant for this, I cannot define inverse for rectangular matrices. Is this okay? Therefore, the treatment that you do for a square matrix in some way is different from the treatment that you do for rectangular matrices.
Rectangle. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this fine?
Yeah, yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other question?
Sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suppose the given system is inconsistent, means no solution.
Okay.
Is possible, is consistent that system? Is there any method, or we leave it that suppose the system is inconsistent, we leave it, or is possible consistent by using any method?
See, I'll give you a simple example. You all stay in your house and you have to go to your college and sit in your official cabin, right? That is your place earmarked in your college, right? Now, the question is, do you have any transportation which will actually pick you up from your reading room in your home and then put you there inside your staff room in your college? Do you have anything like that which will actually pick you right there from your reading room and put you to your staff room? We don't have, right? Hello?
Yeah.
We don't have that. So do we say that, okay, I won't come to college because there is no transportation which takes me there?
Yes.
So what do? You try to go as close as possible to your college so that you walk minimum steps and then go to your cabin, right? That is the problem that we face with inconsistent systems.
Yes.
Inconsistent systems are where you cannot get the solution for whatever values of x1, x2 that you put.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I can say, look, it is not solvable, so I'll keep quiet. No. Right?
We can use approximate value.
Exactly. You have to use approximate solution.
So
Which means,
near solution we can find out.
you can go somewhere near to that value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Are there any questions? Hello?
Hello, participants can ask the questions.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay, if no questions, so shall we end the session now?
Yeah, sure. We'll start it sharp.
Okay, so then we can join at the last session of the day at 3 o'clock, sir.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, sir.